Hey everybody, I'm here with a quick video on Denzel Washington. Is everybody in Hollywood hooked on something? Alcohol, drugs? It seems like they are. Why Denzel is coming out and saying that, in December he will turn 70. And at that point, he will be sober for 10 years. So that means all the way up to his 60s. He was still dibbing and dabbing. He said he did a lot of damage to his body because of the past drug and alcohol use. Let's go ahead and get into this story. I'm shocked, but not shocked at the same time. And the only reason why I'm not shocked is because of all the things you're hearing about Diddy now and everybody just dipping and dabbing in the substances. I'm not surprised that Denzel, unfortunately, fell in that bucket. So Denzel Washington, 69, admits he's done a lot of damage to his body with past drug and alcohol use. I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure that's Denzel Washington admitted his past drug and alcohol use has left an impact on his health. The Gladiator 2 actor, who is set to celebrate 10 years of sobriety on his 70th birthday in December, told Esquire in a new interview, "I've done a lot of damage to my body." He said, "Well, see, I've been clean. Things are opening up for me now. Like being 70, it's real and it's okay. This is the last chapter. If I got another 30, what do I want to do? My mother made it to 97. I'm doing the best I can." The actor revealed he dabbed in a slew of substances over the years, but ultimately, wine was his main vice. Wine is very tricky. It's very slow. It ain't like boom, all of a sudden, he said. "I never got strung out on heroin, never got strung out on coke, never got strung out on hard drugs. I shot dope just like they shot dope, but I never got strung out." Washington added, "And I never got strung out on liquor. I had this idea of wine tastings and all that, which is what it was first. And that's a very subtle thing. I mean, I drank the best." However, when his family added a wine cellar to their house, the Oscar winner revealed he picked up a taste for the best. "I learned to drink the best. So I'm going to drink my 60s. So I'm going to drink my 61s and my 82s and whatever we had. Wine was my thing. And now I was popping $4,000 bottles just because that was what was left." He began making a habit of ordering his wines from Gil Turner's Fine Wines and Spirits on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, California, asking for 2 bottles, the best of this or that. When his wife Pauletta asked him why he would only order 2 bottles each time, the actor said he told her, "Because if I order more, I'll drink more. So I kept it to 2 bottles, and I would drink them both over the course of a day." Despite his habit, though, the actor said he refrained from drinking while working on his various projects. "I never drank while I was working or preparing. I would clean up, go back to work. I could do both. However, many months of shooting, bang, it's time to go. Then boom, 3 months of wine, then time to go back to work," he said. Whew. Listen, at least he's sober 10 years now. Now, if you go, I will attach the link to this article in the description of the video. You should actually go read the entire interview that he did for Esquire. It's really, really interesting. He starts and he talks about, his childhood. I had no idea that Denzel lived in Mount Vernon, New York. No idea whatsoever. But I want to just go through a little bit of it for you. It's very interesting. So the book of Denzel, he has lived a big life. Tough streets, close calls, a wife of 41 years, 4 kids, 50 movies, 2 Oscars, 3 equalizers. For the first time on the occasion of Gladiator 2 and his approaching 70th birthday, the man himself breaks it all down in his words to the moments that mattered and the experiences that made him. So he's talking about Act 1. I'll go through Act 1 for you. And then, like I said, you can go through this and read it. It's really, really interesting. "I was with my friend Frank the night that his brother murdered a guy. It was Mount Vernon, New York, where I grew up. We were maybe 11, 12. My parents were getting divorced, and me and Frank were out late, just walking around, and we stayed wherever we ended up for the night. I'm changing the names. This was a long time ago. We ran into his brother Robert. Now everybody knew Robert was a guy who bless him, everybody said was crazy after he came back from Vietnam. They said he's crazy and he's a killer and be careful. I think he was Green Beret, those guys that would cut throats behind enemy lines, but he didn't bother me none. We smoked weed together and he say, you know, D, everybody's scared of me, man, but you're not scared of me. So, you know, a lot of people think weed is not a big deal. I personally think weed is a gateway drug that leads you into other things. But again, diva thoughts. Matter of fact, I should one day do a whole segment, maybe once a week, just diva thoughts. And I said, well, man, you're just Frank's big brother. I met Frank because when I was 11, I started working in a barbershop up on 4th Avenue. To get there, you had to cut through, or I would cut through, the projects where the basketball courts were. So I started meeting a whole new group of friends in there. Everybody was going for Frank and Robert. Everybody was going for Frank and Robert. Mother, father, and nobody around for them. Frank lived with our other friend, Mitch. Miss Mitchell took him in. We had a little band, 4 of us. Mitch was our lead guitar player. Frank played bass. Our friend Jake played the drums, and I played the keyboards. My mother owned her own business, a beauty salon. So we had a little bit more money, and she could buy me an organ, a farfisa. We used to rehearse over Jake's mother's house, maybe 10 minutes away from my house, down the memorial field, because they had an attic, 3 or 4 floors up where nobody could hear us. None of us read music. We sit up there and listen to records and just try to peck out your little part of whatever James Brown song we were trying to play. Get your little solo. I wasn't as good with the solos because I didn't know how to play, but Frank could play good solos. And Jake, man, he could go for 20 minutes. We entered a talent show in those same projects one time, and we plugged all our equipment into the outdoor lights. The lights shut off at midnight, so we were the last act, but we won. I was performing back in middle school too, or trying to. Me and my friend Wayne Bridges, he's Ludacris' dad, who I met at the boys club. We did a Beatles song in the talent show back then. There were older guys in the neighborhood who we wanted to be like. One guy in particular named Donald Fletcher and me and Wayne would practice his walk. Elements of the walk are still with me today in the movies. I used to practice moving my shoulders while I walked, trying to look like him because he was cool and I wanted to be cool. You didn't know why exactly at the time. All you knew was that that you're 6 and he's 10 and you want to be like him when you grow up. So anyway, me and Frank coming down the street and we see Robert with this guy, Joe. He tells Joe to go down to the grocery store to get him some Coke 45 malt liquor, gives him some money. And as Joe takes off down the street, Robert says real quiet to me and Frank, I'm going to kill him tonight. Yikes. Just then, Joe turned around from down the street and hollered, could he get 2 bottles? Robert shouted back at him, all nice, what? Yeah, get a bottle for yourself too, and bring me back my change. Then he turned back to us and said, see, he don't know that I know he stole my motorcycle. Joe did steal it and either sold it or crashed it and burned it up or something like that. And I just want him to have a good time on his last night living. Good gosh. Is that not a crazy story? And Robert walked off down the street real slow, in and out of the street lights. I looked at Frank and he looked at me, eyes real wide, and I whispered to him, man, he wasn't joking. They were both dope friends, Robert and Joe, and just don't know. So we ran to my house to get out of there. And then we ran back over there early the next morning in a hurry to find out what happened. Well, when Joe got back with the Colt 45, Robert had stabbed him in the back of the neck. Then he closed the knife up and sat in the middle of the street in the lotus position, waiting for the police. That is crazy. Forget my story, you know. I'm some actor, but Frank, his story, man, it was my story that night, but it was the story of his life. That was his life. His brother Robert killed Joe, and his other brother was doing time in Leavenworth, no place you want to be. I forgot what the other brother did because sometimes all those boys and all their crimes run together like water, and you can't remember one from the other, or maybe I don't want to. But when you think back to the big moments in your life, what are they? Was it making a movie? Or was it watching Robert walk down the dark street, wondering what was going on in his head? Those characters I played in Training Day in American Gangster, it might look like they were close to me, and I could tell you they were, but I wasn't no gangster. I ran with the real gangsters down there, but I was not them. So let me not tell that I lied to you. I had one foot in the streets, but I ain't no killer. I can't think of a single role where I would say, man, that's me entirely. No, no. First of all, there are lines that you read and you learn, and that's how that person talks. Sure, there has been to be pieces of what you've done and who you are, and hopefully these pieces of who you are and what you've done. My mother used to say, boy, you got to smile more because if you don't, people think you're angry. So I had something in me. But I never said King Kong ain't got S on me in my life. But Alonzo, the character in Training Day, was bigger than King Kong. It was something I said in the spur of the moment, but that's how he felt. He was losing because the whole neighborhood was turning his back on him. So he had to be even bigger than he was. He got to be King Kong now. So I just said it. I created the character out of the lines someone else wrote. I changed pretty much everything. In the original script, he was more of a straight ahead cop, but we got into the whole gangster side of it and met some gangster cops. We did the research. I was in Mount Vernon not long ago and I ran into Frank. No kidding. Somebody yelled over me to me, yo, D, you know, Frank lives right there. Look, I got a picture of the two of us. We were the same age, but it didn't look like it. Look at that broken body of his. So who am I compared to that guy? I mean, prison was the only safe place for him. Look at his hands, how they look gnarled. I showed this picture to another guy who did time, and he said, D, that's what 40 years of prison food will do to you, because that's what Frank did, probably 40 years. Got into armed robbery, all kinds of stuff. I always take care of Frank. He knows when he sees me, I hit him off. He didn't have a chance, man. Act 2, prep school in the 70s, acts it. Lot of acts it. I said, oh my God. Yeah, hi. I was in a little private semi-military school called Oakland Academy in New Windsor, New York, up by Poughkeepsie. My mother sent me up there because I had tested well in school, but I had one foot in the streets. I can't remember if I was already selling drugs at that point. Yeah, well, sometimes you do what you do. You do what you're around. I was doing everything Frank and Mitch were doing, throwing rocks at the penitentiary, as they call it. I was throwing rocks at the penitentiary at 13. I stopped going to school much. So they sat down with my mother. Look, you need to get him out. Said I showed potential. There were rich kids at the Oakland, but it was all kinds. There was one famous mafia kid up there. I don't know which family, one of the Colombos. I think it was Colombo. I did all 4 years up there. I was introduced to people from all these other places I'd never been, Fairfield County, all over. I learned about other people's lives and backgrounds and asset. Blatters, Orange, Osley. We did it on Fridays because we had to be back in class Monday. My first trip, the trees are moving. I'm scared to leave. I was by myself. This is probably why I screwed up now. I don't think I got back until 4 in the morning, and I was sneaking around, knocking on everyone's doors, telling them, man, that was the snake, and the spiders were trying to come through, and they started laughing. They said, D, you're tripping. I said, I know. It was pretty tame though. It was psychedelic, but it was tame. There was a little weed around and the acid when someone could get it. I wasn't big on alcohol, partly because you had to sneak out and go get somebody to get it for you. In Newburgh on the weekends, Newburgh was 2 miles away, a big town, and it was tough, a depressed place. There was one big wide street and you had to stand outside while someone go get the beer. Not my thing until later. Act 3, the biggest moment of my life was when I was filled with the Holy Spirit. It happened in Los Angeles Church of God in Christ, Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. Let me tell you first that my father was a man of God and a very gentle man. Big dude. He worked 3 jobs. He was up at 4 in the morning. So when I went to school, he was already gone. He came home at something in the afternoon, and he had a second job. Then he was a night watchman at S. Klein's department stores up in Yonkers, where he probably slept. We didn't have teaching conversations. He taught me only by example. Plus, most of the time, I was out of the house. I was at Nathan Hale Elementary in Mount Vernon when they started building a boys' club in 1959. I watched the construction every day, wondered what was going on. Then I found out a club for boys. I think you had to wait till you were 6 to join. And as soon as I turned 6, I was just there. Arts and crafts upstairs, learn how to make something out of popsicle sticks, or learn how to play pool, ping pong, or play baseball and basketball and football. That was me. We never had to worry about eating. Don't get me started with how soft and easy people get it now. At 6, 7, 8 years old, you're trying to get out in the yard, and dad just worked. That's what we knew. He worked. His father, my grandfather, was a farmer. He is a fact. We're descendants of George Washington. We're ex-slaves. My sister did the whole genealogical history of our family. She is truly a genius. She's good, and she spent forever figuring it all out. We still own land down there, not far from D.C. Come on, our last name's Washington. Do the math. My father, though, he was a gentleman, handsome guy, and charismatic, but not educated. No, sir. When it was time to read something, he fiddled. I remember once when my mother wanted to show him something, he pretended to try to find his glasses and then said, "Oh, never mind." And she said, "Here, just give it to me. I don't understand it then." But when I look back, I think he was trying to stall. See, I know he didn't graduate from high school. They were farming. He was born in 1909, and I don't think he was going to kindergarten in 1914 in Delwyn, Virginia, town of 500 people. And this is when he talked about how he would call the store to get his wine and to get 2 bottles a day. After they divorced, my mother was a woman in a man's world trying to make money. She and her business partner owned a beauty shop. That was a big deal. Then they opened an ice cream shop so that we kids could work there to keep us off the street in the summer. I got so sick of ice cream. Oh, just the smell of it. But really, I grew up in a boys' club. As I got older, I started carrying my little switchblade, walking down to the club by myself, all swagger. I had a mentor there, Billy Thomas. He's still in my life. He slapped me in the face one time. And I tell you what, that was a lesson. Billy's not tall, but I was so little. He was on one knee and I was standing, and he was telling me something important and I wasn't listening. I'm looking around like, okay, yeah, okay. Because I went to get back out and play with the other kids. And then pow, pay attention. I never forgot it. And I wasn't about to tell anybody because shoot, I knew what my mother was going to say. Well, why did he hit you? What did you do? But I grew up in the boys' club. I also grew up in church, always in church. And I would see the altar calls as a child, which to a little boy just looks like people come up and then they take them to the prayer room. I knew what it was, people being saved, but I didn't really know. So now I'm an adult, 1983, 84, and Robert Townsend, and I used to run pretty good together back in those days. You know him. Great actor, great director Hollywood Shuffle, director Eddie Murphy Raw. Right now, he's on The Bear playing Sydney's father. He's so good. And we had done a movie, A Soldier Story. I remember that movie. Robert turned me on to West Angeles Church, and you have the prayers and everything at the end, and you get up and stand, and then they have that call to the altar. If anyone wants to come and be saved or whatever, come on up, and you go up. Now I had never gone up in my life, but this particular day, I said I'm going up. I went up there. They said what they said. They took me to the back room somewhere. They prayed for me. Me, I'm thinking I'm just going to give it up to God today, whatever that means. And I got back there and they were praying and telling it to us. I'm hallelujah. I was just feeling, I felt like I was getting lifted up. I felt like my back was arched and I had my eyes closed. Not that I was going up in the air, but I couldn't exactly describe it. And I was blabbering and kept blabbering because I was filled with the Holy Spirit. I could hear the people gathering around me. They had seen this before. I could feel them ministering to me, touching me, talking to me, protecting me. And then this is going to sound like I was doing acid again. I came down. I was slobbering and I was crying. I felt embarrassed because I didn't know exactly what happened. I hadn't experienced it before or even seen it. Growing up, I see members of the church jumping and running up and down the aisles and all of that. But this scared me. It was too powerful. It was too much. It was too much. It was too much. It was unbelievable. It was exhausting. And then a strange thing is, after this thing happens to you and you're all shaken, okay, now what? What do you do with that? You go back to the back of the church and they give you some literature and your wife's waiting for you outside and you get in the car and you go have lunch. And this is so true what he's saying. Things I said about God when I was a little boy, just reciting them in church along with everybody else. I know now God is real. God is love. God is the only way. God is the true way. God blesses. It is my job to lift up God, to give him praise, to make sure that anyone and everyone I speak to the rest of my life understand that he is responsible for me. When you see me, you see the best I could do with what I've been given by the Lord and our Savior. I'm unafraid. I don't care what anyone thinks. Seeing me about the fair part of it, you can't talk like that and win Oscars. You can't look like that and party. You can't say that in this town. I'm now free. I'm free now. I'm not talked about this in town. It's not talked about. It's not talked about. It's not fashionable. It's not sexy. But that doesn't mean people in Hollywood don't believe. There's no such thing called Hollywood anyway. What does that even mean? That to me means a street called Hollywood Boulevard. It's not like we all met somewhere and discussed what we believe. So I don't know how many other actors have faith. I don't do a poll. How would I find that out? I mean, there's no church actor meetings I've been to. I don't have a lot of actor friends, family friends, sure, like Sam Jackson. His wife and Pauletta go way back, and he and I go all the way back a soldier's play in 1981. But now when I make a movie, I'm not trying to make friends. We wrap. I'm trying to go home. That's not to say that if I don't know Tom Hanks, it's not great. It is. I love Tom Hanks. I just don't see him. I didn't see him much before Philadelphia either. We were in the same business, but not necessarily the same town at any moment, just the way it goes. But my faith has always informed the roles I choose. Always. I've always been led by God, and most of my performances are faith-filled, even if I was playing the devil. I still have my shooting script from training day, and I wrote on the cover, "The wages of sin is death. The wages of sin is death." And now all these years later in Gladiator 2, I play another bad guy in another great movie. Even in the darkest stories, I'm looking for the light. Act 4, listen, you're at the award show with a free tuxedo. You went there in a limousine and they didn't call your name. This is 2020 something years into me being an actor. I worked at a camp in Lakeville, Connecticut through the Boys Club, and we did some theater, and I liked it. When I somehow got into Fordham, got in, flunked out, and got in again, that's when it really started. And then I got the play, A Soldier's Play, which became a movie, A Soldier Story, then St. Elsewhere, and all of that, and on and on. And Glory, 1989, and then again at the Oscars. I think I had won the Golden Globe for Hurricane. See, I barely remember now. Ain't that crazy? But then at the Oscars, they called Kevin Spacey's name for American Beauty. I have a memory of turning around and looking at him, and nobody was standing but the people around him, and everyone else was looking at me. Now that it was this way, maybe that's the way I perceived it. Maybe I felt like everybody was looking at me, because why would everybody be looking at me? Thinking about it now, I don't think they were. I'm sure I went home and drank that night. I had to. I don't want to sound like, oh, he won my Oscar or anything like that. It wasn't like that. And you know, there was talk in the town about what was going on over there at that side of the street. And that's between him and God. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I pray for him. That's between him and his maker. I went through a time when Pauletta would watch all the Oscar movies. I told her, I don't care about that. Hey, they don't care about me. I don't care. You vote. You watch them. I ain't watching that. I gave up. I got bitter. My pity party. So I'll tell you, for about 15 years, from 1999 to 2014, when I put the beverage down, I was bitter. I didn't even know offhand what movies I made. I guess John Q, okay, Martian and Candidate, but I didn't know I was bitter. Wine is very tricky. It's very slow. It's not like boom, all of a sudden. And part of it was built, part of it is we built this big house in 1999 with a 10,000 bottle wine cellar. And I learned to drink the best. So I'm going to drink my 61s and my 82s and whatever we had. Wine was my thing. And I was popping $4,000 bottles just because that's what was left. And then later in those years, I called Gil Turner's Fine Wines and Spirits on Sunset Boulevard and say, send me 2 bottles. The best of this or that. And my wife saying, why do you keep ordering just 2 bottles? I said, because if I order more, I'll drink more. So I kept it to 2 bottles and I would drink them both over the course of the day. I never drank while I was working or preparing. I would clean up, go back to work. I could do both. However, many months of shooting, bang, it's time to go. Then boom, 3 months of wine, then time to go back to work. I'm sure at first it was easy because I was younger. 2 months off and let's go. But drinking was a 15-year pattern. And truth be told, it didn't start in 99. It started earlier. In fact, it probably has more to do with Frank and those guys. It probably started then. Well, to be honest, that is where it started. I never got strung out on heroin, never got strung out on coke, never got strung out on hard drugs. I shot dope just like they shot dope, but I never got strung out. And I never got strung out on liquor. I had this idea of wine tasting and all that, which is what it was at first. And that's a very subtle thing. I mean, I drank the best. I drank the best, and 15 years into it, send me 2 bottles and make it good stuff, but just 2. And I drank them both over the course of the day. I was drinking when I filmed Flight. I know that, but I'm sure I did as soon as, I wasn't drinking when I filmed Flight. I know that, but I'm sure I did as soon as I finished. That was getting toward the end of the drinking, but I knew a lot about waking up and looking around, not knowing what happened. But look, I was put on this planet to do good. I've been blessed with the ability to act, and I tried to use it for goodness sake. For goodness sake, even the darkest guys, I know during Flight, I was thinking about those who have been through addiction, and I wanted good to come out of that. It wasn't like it was therapeutic. Actually, maybe it was therapeutic. It had to have been. But look, I had so many journeys, so many different kinds of people to play, and even the heroes. I'm not them. I'm not the Stephen Biko. I play Stephen Biko. I'm not Malcolm X. People talk to me like I'm Malcolm X to this day. I'm not Malcolm X. I could not stand up to the pressure that he was under, but I've been blessed with the ability to interpret what that does. But it's the leader of the nation of Islam or falling down, alcoholic. I've done a lot of damage to my body. We'll see. I've been clean. Be 10 years this December. I stopped at 60, and I haven't had a thumble's worth since. Things are opening up for me now. Like being 70, it's real, and it's okay. This is the last chapter. If I get another 30, what do I want to do? My mother made it to 97. I'm doing the best I can. And not only alcohol, forget all that. Strength. About 2 years ago, my good friend, my little brother, Lenny Kravitz said, D, I want to hook you up with a trainer. And he did. And he's another man of God. I started with him February last year. He makes the meals for me, and we're training. And now I'm 190 something pounds on my way to 185. I was looking at pictures of myself and Pauletta at the Academy Awards for Macbeth. And I was just looking fat with this dyed hair. And I said, those days are over, man. I feel like I'm getting strong. Strong is important. Act 5, 7 a.m., September 23, 2023. I was on a yacht in the middle of the Mediterranean off of Italy somewhere. The boat wasn't moving. I was listening to a song alone, just me. I had my Bible and I had finished reading my prayers and the daily word, my morning ritual, and I had music playing through my phone, a song called The Face of God. It was not a song I have in my rotation, and I don't know how it ended up on my phone. The woman was singing about the actual face of God. I said out loud, you know, Lord, everybody says they seen your face. They sing about it. They say they saw your face, and I want to see your face. I never seen it. While I was saying it, I heard, look to your left. I heard it, not thought it, heard the words. There was no one else around. Look to your left. I looked to my left off to the side of the boat. In the clouds above the ocean, I saw a face, a detailed, proportionate face that took up the whole sky, eyes, nose. It even had lips and teeth and a little smirk. I grabbed my phone and took this photo. Remember, it was while I was asking, Lord, everybody gets to see your face. I never see. I like to look to the left. I don't care how you slice it. You can say, oh, that's just coincidental, to which I say, well, I'm listening to the song. I said, I want to see your face. I heard, look to the left, and that's what I saw. Whatever makes you feel good, I don't care. I know what makes me feel good. I know what I saw. I know what I see. There's no guarantees that your children will see you tonight. This is so much to be thankful for, grateful for, humbled by. What bad does God do? I ask. What good does God do? We don't know. Same God that does earthquakes and hurricanes and cancer brings the sun up to the morning too. We don't know. I'm just grateful and thankful for each God-given day, for the sunrise and the sunset. We don't even know why we wake up in the morning. First thing I do is pray every morning. I read my Bible. I read my daily word every day. I get in half of an hour quiet time. I try to wake up now and sit there first, put my feet on the floor and sit and be quiet. It's hard. It's easy to get up and do this and that. Are you left the idiot box on and that sucks you in? Turn it off. Sit. Then you start listening. There you go. Birds. Be still. Just try to be still. What is that saying? Life's simple pleasures are best. Fresh air, some water, sounds, being up another morning, just being there. No guarantees. That's why we call it faith. Religion is a tricky word because that gets into my religion, your religion, and all that. But faith doesn't sound like it belongs to someone. Anyone can have it. I do agree with him. Act 5, the most recent big moment in our life was more than big, and it was more than a moment, and it had nothing to do with me. On one hand, the moment was a combination of all of Pauletta's work, raising our children, and all of my work, and all of their work becoming these people that they are. And then on the other hand, the moment I'm talking about was just the beginning. Backing up a second, if you don't know who August Wilson was, the playwright, think about Arthur Miller, think about Tennessee Williams, Edward Albee, Eugene O'Neill. That's where Wilson's work lives, in that panther. He wrote 10 plays, each one in a different decade of the 20th century, telling his view of what it was like to be Black in America at the time. All but one are set in Pittsburgh. August died in 2005. God bless him. Too young. He was 60. And then a few years ago, his widow and the estate asked if I would produce a movie of each play. I said, you got the right man for the job. I don't mean because I'm so great. I mean because I see it as a privilege to be asked to be one of the greatest playwrights to life in film. I mean, come on, I'll take that. It's a privilege. He doesn't owe me anything. to be able to shepherd in a small way, to be a part of it, because I really just handling each one over the next director, and then I don't go hovering over them. You have to trust. You can't ask someone to direct a film and then look over their shoulder every 2 seconds. And in this case in particular, the material is the material. August wrote it. It's like they say, if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. And his genius is on the page. We done 3 of them now. Fences, I loved it. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, loved it. And then now the piano lesson. My son Malcolm directed it. My son John David is in it. My daughter, what is this, Kata, produced it. We went to Toronto International Film Festival with it earlier this year, and that was a moment. Sitting on that stage after the screening for the question and answer session of the 3 of my children, Lord, the 4th Olivia was starring in a slave play in the West End of London. Their mom was in the audience. It was a gorgeous theater, one of the older ones in Toronto, which was appropriate for the film. Maybe 1,500 people there, full house. And they had chairs set up for us. Malcolm, then David next, then John, David next to him. The incredible other cast members, Danielle, Ray, Michael Potts, his daughter, my producing partner, Ty Black, and me way down at the end, trying not to get noticed. I've done a lot of Q&A sessions at film festivals, but this one, it doesn't get better than that. When it was time to leave the stage, I waved everyone past me, one by one, waiting for Malcolm so I could give him a hug and walk off together, my hand on his shoulder. I was still producing, everyone march off, then me, and him close it out, still in charge, still dad. Malcolm used to beat everybody in Monopoly. They wouldn't play him. He walked around with a Monopoly set, and John David would never play because Malcolm would always want to be the bank. Nobody could beat him or even wanted to beat him. That's Malcolm. In high school, he recruited a couple of basketball players to make the team better, and they won the state championship on his division level. He was a point guard. That's Malcolm. He has the ball in his hands, and he puts the team together. I didn't see myself acting in any of the remaining 7 Wilson films. I did Fences. For one thing, I don't see a role, but I also have things lined up for a few years. I told them I would do another Equalizer, and we were doing 4 and 5. More people are happy that people love these doggone Equalizers. It's about variety for me. I sometimes say to myself, one for me, one for them. For example, Othello, we're doing it on Broadway and then a movie. That's for me. But I've come to realize that Equalizer films are for me too, because they are for the people. They want me to get the bad guys. We can't get them. So you go get them. And I say, okay, I'll get them. Just wait right there. I'll be back. But that's also what I love about Gladiator 2. It's not just about me. It's a great cast, a great story, and I get to be a part of it. I love the first one with my friend Russell Crowe. When Ridley Scott called asking if I would be in it, are you kidding? It took me about 2 seconds to say yes. We had done American Gangster, of course, also with Russell. But this film, Gladiator 2, continues a great story, epic story, in such a truthful way and exciting way. It's a wonderful script, and I'm happy I'm in it with those fantastic actors. And the piano lesson. Listen, guys, this is a great, 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 great article. Well, I might as well finish it out for y'all, right? I done read the whole thing. I wasn't going to read the whole thing. I was just going to put it in here for y'all. But in the piano lesson, shoot, it's definitely ain't about me. That moment up on stage in Toronto wasn't about me. Our children pulled it off. They did it. Even when we were shooting, I'm supposed to be one of the producers, and I'm also their dad. But about 2 weeks in, I went home. Nothing really for me to do. You know, when you say something to the group and they give you a polite answer like, yeah, thanks. We're a little busy here. Thanks for the okay. So where we were. Even at the party, after the screening in the Q&A, Pauletta and I were in the corner just hanging out, watching Malcolm and John and his daughter just float around the room, just soaring. I was there at best. I could be there for my children. I fly in from whatever movie I was doing to be with them. I remember when Pauletta was pregnant with their daughter around 1987. I was filming for Queen and Country in London, and I scheduled 5 days off for the due date and 5 days after, and I flew home for that. That was my version of commuting. We're always coming back together, but then there's that. Daddy's got to go do his thing, go to Indianapolis for 4 months or whatever, and we get to go to school. You get the grades. I go do what I got to do. That's how it goes around here. There's no easy way. We taught them the old-fashioned hard work way. Pauletta read a chapter from the Bible to them every day at breakfast, and they would have discussions about it. She led the foundation where I was out killing the whatever it is, killing the animal and bringing home the meat, the bacon. But that alone, all four of them, healthy in their right mind, enough said. Pauletta did a brilliant job with them. She taught them the right way. I came along for the ride. I taught by example, good and bad. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good and bad. You think of a million other things that could have gone. Mitch did 20, 25 years. He died of age. Frank probably did 40 years. Drake died. That was our band, the four of us. And by the grace of God, I didn't do a day. And he's talking about in jail. I love what I do, and I'm fortunate that I have the ability to act, and I don't want to make light of it, but it's just acting, man. It ain't rocket science. I didn't mark the big moments of my life by the movies I made. My mother said, man gives the award, God gives the reward. So one of them Oscars I won, and that's the trippy part, isn't it? How easily that rolls off the tongue. I said one of them, man, but no. When I think of what I'm proudest of, anything I accomplished doesn't even come to mind. It's our children. They're good people. They know right from wrong. What else can you ask for, you know? Listen, guys. Love Denzel Washington. Love his honesty. I'm glad that he's sober. And I appreciate him telling his story that, you know, he's human. He's been through some stuff. He had some problems. And out of all his friends, he survived. Very fortunate. Chat with me in the comments, guys. And when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Everybody, thanks for watching. I will put both links in the chat. So, I mean, in the description of this video, so you could click on and read yourself. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button. I'll see you in the next video.